Have you ever wished that your brain came with a user manual, a little guide on how everything works? Well, that's kind of what we're going to do today. Let's pop the hood and take a look at the mechanics of the human mind. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. A question that might seem a little strange at first. Is your mind really on your side? I mean, it should be, right? But what you're about to see is that sometimes its own programming can actually work against you, and you might not even realize it's happening. All right, first things first, we've got to understand the basics. Think of this as the mechanic's guide to your mind's operating system. The fundamental software that's running the whole show. So at the very heart of this system, you've got two key processes: thinking and reasoning. This is your mind's baseline software. It's what you use for literally everything, from deciding what you want for lunch to tackling huge complex problems. It's how we make sense of the world around us and navigate through our lives. Now, this mental operating system of ours isn't just one thing. It actually runs in two very distinct modes. First, you've got the automatic mode. This is the fast, intuitive, gut feeling kind of thinking. It's effortless and pretty much runs on autopilot in the background. Then, you have the deliberate mode. This one is slow, it's analytical, and it takes real conscious effort. This is you actively taking the wheel and thinking something through step by careful step. Okay, so now that we know about the system, this is where it gets really interesting. Because just like any piece of software, our mental operating system can have, well, let's call them glitches. These are the common barriers that get in the way of really clear, sound reasoning. And here's the key thing to get. Our minds are incredibly powerful, right? The problem isn't the engine itself. The real challenge comes from these roadblocks that just pop up and totally disrupt our ability to think clearly. So let's look at the first and probably most common glitch: bias. The best way to think about biases is as mental shortcuts. They're actually designed to help us make decisions faster. But the downside is they often cause us to jump to conclusions. Like confirmation bias, where we just hunt for information that proves what we already believe. That's a perfect example of that fast automatic system creating a bug. Glitch number 2, assumptions. Oh man, these are sneaky. Assumptions are things we just accept as facts without any real proof. We can build these huge, elaborate arguments on top of them, but if that one core assumption is wrong, the whole thing can come crashing down. It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. And our third glitch is a big one: emotion. Look, our feelings are absolutely vital. They're a huge part of being human. But when our emotions are running really high, they can sometimes totally hijack our logical brain. Strong feelings can literally change how we see the world and push us to make decisions that, let's be honest, our calmer self would probably never make. So what's the big deal? What's the real damage from these glitches? Well, they're not just minor bugs in the system. They can lead us to draw completely faulty conclusions, make some really poor decisions, and in some cases cause us to fundamentally misunderstand what's really going on. That's a pretty big deal. But, and this is a big but, here's the good news: we are not just helpless victims of our own minds. In this last section, we're going to talk all about taking back the controls, how you can actually perform a mental tune-up and get a handle on your own thought processes. And this is really the whole point of this entire explainer. You don't have to be a passive passenger inside your own head. You can become the chief mechanic of your mind. You can learn to spot these glitches as they happen and make adjustments on the fly. It's an active and honestly an incredibly empowering process. So how do you actually do it? It's a really simple but crazy powerful two-step tune-up. Step 1 is all about control. All you have to do is pause. Just stop your brain's autopilot for a second and notice what you're thinking. That's it. Then comes step 2, evaluate. You take that thought and you challenge it. You ask it some tough questions. Hey, is this thought actually based on facts? Or could this be a glitch talking, a bias, an assumption, or an emotion? This quote by Nathaniel Branden just hits the nail on the head. The first step toward change is awareness. That's the control step right there. Just becoming aware of what's going on in your head. And the second step, acceptance, that's about acknowledging that, yeah, we all have these glitches. And that lets us move on to the evaluate step without judging ourselves. So if you take only one thing away today, please let it be this: awareness is everything. The moment you become aware of a thought, you unlock something amazing. You unlock choice. The choice to turn off the autopilot and consciously decide to think differently. to switch over to that deliberate, more methodical mode. And with that, we're at the end. I'm going to leave you with a final question to chew on. Now that you've got the tools for a mental tune-up, what's one thought, one automatic belief or gut reaction that you're going to pause and re-examine today?